Hey guys and gals, welcome to Dude, Check This Out, a music podcast where we talk about music from the past and the present with artists of the future, not from the future. I don't know why I say that almost every episode. Quick footnote about this show is that there are so many genres we cannot touch upon all of them. It's impossible. We can't do it. I would love to talk about metal and folk in the same show, but it's almost impossible. So we're going to try our best. If you have something that you want us to talk about or an artist you want us to talk about, please email us at dudecheckthisoutmusicpodcast@gmail.com. And yes, it's that long. I'm your host, Rob Tate. I'm the drummer from Hambone Relay. On the computer is Mark Brown from Hambone Relay.
Hey.
He is a booker extraordinaire and leader of the band. If you've never checked out this show, we're about 4 in. This is our 5th episode. We like to talk about music. We like to talk about good music around. Right now, a lot of people in this industry say there's no more good music, and we're in a new era. Everything good was in the 70s or the 60s. It's impossible to find good music. Fuck you. There's plenty of good music, and that's what this whole show is about. We bring in artists, and we talk about music news. We talk about things that in the top 40 they're actually good, some things that aren't, and we talk about the artists in. We talk about their bio. Today's artist is my man, my brother, Brendan Johnson. How are you, buddy?
Yo, Rob.
What's up?
Thanks for having me, man.
Coming in from laying tile. Working hard this morning.
The land of tile.
Laying of tile.
Kitchen tile.
You got a place in South Philly.
We do.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Brendan Johnson is of the band Stella Ruze that's kicking some serious ass.
Thank you.
Kind of from the folk ilk, but they're kind of starting to branch into the jam band scene. Quick story about Brendan. I met you via the Vesper days. My drunken days where I was just pretty much wasted every time I played a show. So this is Vesper Club, Dinner Club. We played there. I was playing there with John Gilbride every Friday and Saturday at the time. And we were I was very possessive of my gigs because I wasn't making much money at the time. And then Brendan came on. I'm not sure how Derm found you. We'll talk about that. But the first time I met your girlfriend as well. And you two were hilarious because you played the dinner show and then I played after solo.
Right.
And you guys were making fun of me for the next 3 hours. It was hilarious.
We weren't.
Yes, you were. Well, your girlfriend was.
Well, yeah.
Or fiance.
She makes fun of me too. So.
It's okay. I appreciate that. It kind of makes it interactive at least a little bit. It's all good. But yeah, man, we just did a quick run at Bourbon and Branch. That was a lot of fun.
We did. Yeah, it was awesome to have you on for that show. That was sweet.
That show was really fun. And then, what was it? Black Horse Motel was in the middle. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen them live. They were great.
That was a great night.
It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I had a quick question for you because I actually don't know the answer is, where did you... Quick siren. When did music start for you? When did you start playing?
Pretty early on. I was always pretty athletic when I was little. I'm from a family of 5 brothers, 5 total boys and 2 girls. So I was always pretty competitive with my brothers, and I was pretty athletic. But then there came a time in grade school when all my friends started hitting puberty and just started getting like tall and masculine and more athletic, and I didn't. I was just like a late bloomer. I don't think I hit a growth spurt till like senior year of high school. It was that bad. So at that time, as all my friends started becoming more, taller and just more physical, I had a concussion in football, like my 8th grade year of football, and I just decided like then and there, like, okay, life's trying to tell me something here. This isn't for me, this football, basketball thing. I was always pretty gritty out there, you know. I scrapped pretty well with them, but it just came kind of dawned on me, you know, that I wasn't meant to do that. So my dad always had a piano in the house, my parents, and my dad's a musician, and I would always mess around a little bit. In the 4th grade, I took sax lessons, and I think in that realization from switching to athletics to music that I finally like kind of took it on, like personalized it and said, this is going to be for me.
Was it pretty quick, the transition going from athletics to music?
Yeah, I think it was within like a 6-month period probably.
Okay.
Because I started being interested in learning how to play through a couple friends that I had at school that also were switching from like the athletic thing to music, and they were like, "Let's do a band," you know. And
were all you at the same time kind of realizing
all of
you
us,
did not
yep.
have the athletic durability?
Yeah, and we just kind of liked each other, and it was like, this is a cool thing for us to do. This can be our thing. And they needed, there was like 3 guitar players, and they needed a bass player, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do the bass thing. What's a bass? You know? And that's
well, hold on, back to saxophone. So were you playing saxophone in like elementary school, middle school?
Yeah, 4th grade.
Did you pick or did your parents pick?
I picked.
Okay, well that's cool.
The guy came in, you know, and he does the whole thing, and I was like, I like sax. That's cool. I think I did it for like 2 weeks. My mom was like, "You're not practicing like you're supposed to be," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." She was like, "Do you want to keep going?" You know, and I knew my parents, you know, with all these kids, you didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, and I knew that it was a thing, so I was like, "No, Mom, it's okay. I'll just keep playing on the piano."
And that's when you were living in Merchantville, correct? Were you?
I actually grew up in central Pennsylvania.
Okay, where's that?
The Harrisburg area.
Okay.
Small suburb, Mechanicsburg.
Mechanicsburg, not Mechanicsville.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh, yeah, that's close.
Yeah, so we record out in Harrisburg. We were just talking about.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a friend of ours. But
nice.
How did you grow up there your whole childhood? Or?
Yep. I was actually I was born in Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and I, my oldest, so I'm the third, and my sister was born in Philly. We moved to Savannah. My brother and I were born there. We moved back to Philly till I was 4. Mm-hmm. And my dad took a job with Amtrak in Harrisburg, and that's how we ended up in Mechanicsburg, where my 3 younger brothers were born.
That's a great gig.
And
hey, so what's the order? One more time. It's your sister.
Yep.
Your eldest brother, you, sister.
Boy, girl.
Oh, okay.
My dad, after my parents split, my dad remarried. I have a half sister.
Oh, right on.
So it's like bookends are girls with 5 boys in the middle. Yeah.
God bless their heart. Your sisters having
yes.
to deal with all
both.
Did all of you play?
Music?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone plays a little bit. I will say that. My sister doesn't go far from the church. She's more of a singer. Mm-hmm. But the rest of us all dabble pretty good. I'm the only one that's done it professionally, but yeah, everyone plays.
You guys ever do the family thing? You play together at the holidays?
Yeah, like the Partridge thing.
Yeah,
Was that your interview with Logan Trap Rabbit?
He did a bit of that. He played with his siblings, but I was curious if you kind of grew up the same way that I did, which is, you know, like if your dad played and you guys like all sat around and played cover tunes.
There were a few gigs when we were little where he brought us up. He was big into James Taylor, still is, and he brought us up, the whole family, one time at a gig for, I think it was like a work function, and they knew that he played, so they had him come and do Shower the People by James Taylor.
Oh, I love that song. It's so good. And you guys do like little kid harmonies at the end.
And we all did. Yep.
Oh, it's so good. Mark, do you know that song?
I do not.
Oh, that's a good one.
Show them
you're soulless.
That you feel.
That's such a good tune. So your dad did play then. Did he play a lot of gigs in town, or was he kind of like specifically Amtrak weekend warrior type of thing?
Well, I guess as I got older, he had switched jobs, and I think he started insurance around that time, and he wasn't doing it out until I got a little older, or at least I didn't notice he was doing it out. And he started playing bars again, and I was kind of like, I couldn't go to those gigs, so I was always like, where's Dad going? You know?
You thinking like other family or something like that?
Yeah, right.
Get another family or something?
Yeah.
What about your mom? Did she sing at all? Or?
More of a fan than musician or songwriter herself. But her brother, Joe, and my dad were best friends growing up. Before my dad had any romantic interest in my mom, he was best friends with her younger brother. And they grew up playing guitar together. His name's Joe Corcoran. You might have met my cousin Ryan Corcoran, who plays in the area.
I think we met. Yeah.
Yeah, with Moon Poodle is his band. And my dad and my Uncle Joe, once my parents obviously married, every family function while my parents were still together, my Uncle Joe would be there playing with my dad. And that was really, for all of us growing up, such a cool thing, because it was like them getting together to play guitar, and it was like a thing, you know. It became kind of memorialized in my head that, oh, this is cool, you know.
Did you pick up bass or acoustic guitar first?
Acoustic guitar first, just because he had one around. I never had one. And then my first instrument ever was a bass guitar. My instrument.
Yeah,
you know,
you bought it, or did they buy it for you?
It was a gift. It was a graduation gift. My 8th grade year. It was grade school.
Well, very cool. So your dad was showing you at least some guitar and some things that he could play, right?
Yeah, and buddies would come over and be like, all right, let me show you, you know, a G chord and a D chord. And you ever hear this song, you know, by Oasis, you know? I think it's everyone's first song.
You know this song, Take It Easy by the Eagles? And you're like, this is so good. And then you get older, you're like, oh, damn it.
Right. So true.
Oh, man, we need more caffeine, more coffee. What did your mom do?
My mother still is today. Always managed. She's a manager of doctors' offices, so HR and different managerial skills she has had.
Okay. Was she still there, though?
She is with a dermatologist company now in York, Pennsylvania. She still lives out.
Did you ever... Well, I'm sure as a kid, what were you originally planning to be as a kid? Like, when you grew up, like something like what your dad was doing, more blue collar, or?
No, it was always kind of athlete or musician for me. Yeah, it was always shooting for the stars, man.
What was the incident in 8th grade that put you out, the concussion? What'd you play?
So I was pretty short, even in 8th grade. And
how tall were you?
I was,
or even give us like a comparison. How much shorter were you than the average kid in 8th grade?
I was probably like 4'8", between 4'8" and 5'2". Like I was much shorter than the average.
Okay.
But I was fast, right? I was real fast. So it was my 8th grade year, and we were whooping this team. And my coach, who remembered that I was a running back when I was really little, was like, "Brennan, you want the ball?" And I was like, yes. Yeah. That sounds like a great idea. It was a 121 waggle, which is like a end around sweep. I got the ball, and I probably made it about 15 yards. I was moving before the safety came over and just went whack, helmet to helmet. And next thing I remember, even looking back on this memory, is my dad sitting next to me on the bench, staring at me like my dad wasn't even a coach. He obviously saw what happened. He came down.
Oh my God! You don't remember anything from getting off the field?
No, I remember the play. I remember the conversation with my coach, but I don't remember what happened. I just remember waking up on the bench. My dad was like, "You all right?"
Wait, so that's like, is that the last game you ever played, or did you?
I definitely played another game. I was mostly defense at that point.
Okay.
But I realized after I didn't play any more of that game, but I had played another game, and after seeing the doctor, he was like, "You had a concussion." Excuse me. You had a concussion, and
yeah, what a terrible word for somebody who happens to have anybody has like a speech thing, concussion.
Right.
Okay, so from that point, you play one more game, and then you're out. Then 6 months later, you're beginning to kind of pick up the instruments and the piano and the guitar.
Right.
Do you ever play with your dad and your uncle when you're that young, or?
Yeah, he let me jump on the harmonica a bunch, and I was kind of I would take on their vocal tones and like try to match their melodies. So I think I was doing more than I thought I was doing in looking back.
Were you harmonizing at the time?
I wasn't singing outright. I think I was doing more in my head and listening, you know. Sometimes
you need that incubation period.
Definitely.
Right? To kind of like really sit in it. And then when you're older, all that watching it, your dad do it, and your uncle, it starts to come out. Mm-hmm. I felt the same way. My dad sang a lot. Every time we went up to Canada, even at home, he would play my grandparents' like family reunions for Christmas, and he'd play for hours, wasted. In fact, does your dad drink and play?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you can resonate with this.
My dad drinks and does whatever.
My dad learns tunes drunk, and he can't remember them until he's back at that point.
Oh yeah.
That did you ever find your
study
dad did
high,
that?
take the test high kind of thing?
Yeah, you remember more when you're in that state.
Right.
My dad loves red wine, and he would. I'm not saying my dad's a lush, well, maybe a little bit, but like he would remember so many tunes. We would go into like 4:00 in the morning. I'm sitting there because I'm bad at talking to people when I was a kid, so I'm just taking it all in. And later, when I'm starting to sing out at open mics, and my dad would come by, my dad and I would sing the same, and people would comment on it. And my explanation is I was sitting there till 4:00 in the morning hearing him sing, and I was curious if you had a similar situation. Do your dad and you sing pretty similarly? Vowel color and things?
I've heard people say that before. Yeah, I think so. I think I had an infatuation with not only the music, which was emotional for me because he would sing to us when we were going to sleep, lullabies and that type of thing, but just kind of being there while people gathered around him and my uncle, especially at the family stuff, and like seeing people's reaction to the songs he chose to play. And my dad's always been a songwriter too. So oftentimes, especially at the family gatherings, he would play his own songs. And that's when it kind of dawned on me like, oh, wow. So people appreciate the songs that he's been writing. It doesn't have to be a James Taylor song. It doesn't have to be a Neil Young song. That's when I kind of dove in, Yeah.
That's really cool. Now, you pick up the bass. Is this The Juice? The band The Juice?
So, members from The Juice I grew up with in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. Guy by the name of Ian Moran, phenomenal guitar player. Ian and I, when we got to college, started The Juice. Yeah, which is a great pull by you, by the way.
I did a lot of stalking.
Dude, that is impressive.
So... what's the band before that in high school? Like, were you doing like cover gigs?
Well, as you probably can relate, both you and Mark, in high school you go through like 80 different band names.
Oh yeah.
You
go on. Well, just Google and like just band generator or whatever you can find.
I think we were called American Handstand.
That's not too bad.
Which is really similar to American Bandstand. That thing. McMorrison Blues Review.
That's pretty rough. I'm just kidding.
It was McCormick, Moran, and Johnson, so McMorrison Blues Review. And then we got a little bit more kind of psychedelic, and we refined our sound a little bit. And then we stuck with the name for a while, for like a year before we all went to college, and it was Aura Euphoria.
That's a good one too. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Is that when you kind of dive into the jam scene, like jam music, like Phish?
We started playing a lot of Almond Brothers, Mountain Jam, 25-minute Mountain Jams.
Okay, so were you playing like 3-hour gigs when you were at college?
Yeah, so then, kind of jumping from that group to college, Ian went to Temple, and I was at Phil U in East Falls area. And we had met a drummer from LaSalle by the name of Blaine Nishaw, and we decided to start jamming with one another, and that's when The Juice kind of came to be in these concrete basements of college, just, drinking jungle juice and
like Temple basements,
smoking lots of reefer, yeah. And it was just like, the best of times, Yeah.
You're getting wasted and hanging out with girls and playing psychedelic music.
And that's when like one of our good friends who ended up being the manager of our band, and Andy Troutman, decided like, you guys should probably name this, and like we should probably like do this. And that's when The Juice came to be. Yeah.
That's a good name. I liked it. Were you the first? Do you know?
There was a hip-hop artist by the name of The Juice.
Oh, okay.
I think right around the same time as us.
You guys figured, like, we'll just do it.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't think we had any I think that as we began to grow in popularity in college, I think that's when we discovered there's another Juice. So either we forgot the research and as we were choosing our name, or it just wasn't a thing until it didn't matter. But
so you're the Juice at this point with your buddy, and you said you're going to PU, Philadelphia University. What were you studying at PU?
I thought I wanted to go, because I was kind of artistic then, and I thought I wanted to go the architectural route, and just realized how over my head I was. And
in what way?
Just the amount of work, and the amount of, they really try to sift out those that really aren't in it for life. And I'm kind of glad they did, because a lot of friends that graduated with architectural degrees didn't have jobs for a long time coming out of school with a lot of that debt. So I ended up transferring to Temple.
Okay.
Because I was no longer pursuing that major, and really just at that point just wanted to appease my parents to get the degree kind of thing. But the Juice was a lot of fun. It was like electronic, Phish meets Disco Biscuits kind of original music that we had done. And we did okay.
And at that point, were you guys playing a lot of gigs in Philly, just basement shows, or a mix of both? Or
yeah, so we kind of grew. We kind of grew from like the basement party bands to doing more in and around Philly. The venues I remember most is like Mill Creek Tavern in West Philly. Mm-hmm. If you remember that one, we played the Fire a few times. North Star Bar.
One of my least favorite venues.
Yeah.
North Star.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird place.
And then, we started playing outside of Philly. We started playing out in Harrisburg a little bit, and we ended up having some sort of a relationship with Mark Brownstein from the Disco Biscuits, and got invited up to be one of his contest winners for the Camp Bisco in 2006. Wow,
how cool is that, dude?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we, around the same time, we started our own music festival called Muddy River Jam Festival.
I was going to ask that next. Where was that?
We had it at a few different locations. Originally, it started in Harrisburg, my dad's backyard. Mm-hmm. And we, any money we made, we'd give to charity, friends, local charity. And we ended up bringing it to Philly and growing it. And like our best year, we ended up having it at Snipes Farm, not far from here in Morrisville.
Is
that where they have the Beard Fest now? Do you know?
No, it's in Jersey somewhere. It's in like Hamilton, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of farm out here in Jersey. There should be more festivals.
And then we moved it to Salem County the year after that, which is, in Jersey as well. But didn't do so well.
What was your best year? What were you like pulling in and donating, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I always judged our success on attendance. And our best year, we had like right around 1,500 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
Perpetual Groove. Mm-hmm. And we were actually supposed to have Lotus headline that year. Yeah.
They bail out, or what happened?
Yeah. We lost the bid because that same weekend, Sound Tribe, Sector 9, had offered them to play a show with them at Penn's Landing in Philly. And you don't turn that down if you're Lotus. You don't turn that down if you're anyone. The problem with that was it was the same exact weekend as our festival, and it directly conflicted with our audience. And that was the final year that we did it, because we just lost a ton of money.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
At this point, does the Juice kind of fizzle out, or?
Yeah, after that, the Juice was kind of musically already on the descent, because everyone had graduated, and it was like, okay, shit or get off the pot. Like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. Are we going to keep doing this, or are we going to get jobs and like try to be?
It was the majority call that everyone wanted out, or just kind of felt that way. Everybody wanted to move on.
I think that's I always really wanted to keep going, man. But I was on the minority in that.
That's a shame.
And the festival actually began to grow so much that people were actually thinking about doing that full time. That would be that'd
become like what the band would do,
right?
But the Juice wouldn't exist. You guys would just be part of the co-founders.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of where the rub came as well, where part of the fizzle happened.
That's such a shame. So does that festival still exist then?
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
No longer. Yeah,
so cool,
it is a bummer. Maybe one day. Who knows?
So at that point, are you still living in Philly at that point?
Yeah, and I was with a real estate developer out of King of Prussia, doing that thing, and he relocated me to Newport, Rhode Island for a year. So that was the other reason where all this kind of fizzled, was the relocation and the whole thing. And I really stepped away from music for, I don't know, a good 2 years at that point. I was going through a breakup and like all this other stuff. So it was like, life was like...
You needed to kind of live your life and not be in that limelight. Okay, so then you move back to Philly.
Yep.
Is that around the same time you start playing Manayunk, doing cover gigs?
Yeah, not long after I moved back to Philly, I met the owner of McGillicuddy's in Manayunk, Randy Franklin. What's up, Randy? Shout out. And he had heard through somebody that I played music or used to play music, and he was like, why don't you come in and I'll throw you a couple $100, you know? And I was like, well, that sounds lovely.
I need to get out more anyway.
Right.
In that point, you're still working. Are you still working with a housing company? Or
I was fired. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I moved back to Philly because I was let go from that. Everyone pretty much up there lost their job. It was a crumbling real estate development, and I got on it like the worst time. And
you didn't know until you got up there.
Yep. So they gave me a little bit of a severance because they kind of messed me up, but it came back and allowed me to like really like start over.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
So you pick up the guitar again. You start playing acoustic at JD McGillicuddy's. How often are you playing there?
I was playing there like 3 times a month, two or three times a month.
That's really great.
And I was living in my buddy's basement. He was just letting me crash in his
Rent-free?
basement. Yep.
What's your buddy's name?
Doug Smith.
Shout out to Doug Smith.
Shout out Doug Smith.
You're the reason music exists.
And now his wife Alicia.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool. So you're playing there 3 times a month,
Yeah.
and you're meeting people. Musicians come in. At what point do you meet Mason?
Yeah. So my buddy Will Lottie used to work at JG Wentworth. Remember that that commercial?
The J.G. Wentworth.
It's my money and I want it now.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the connection?
So Will was like, my buddy Brendan's been playing at he's saying this to Mason. My buddy Brendan's been playing at this bar in Manayunk. You should come hang out sometime after work. So Mason came to a gig, and we got chatting. You know, became friendly with one another, and eventually he was like, "Hey, by the way, I play piano. If you ever want to jam." And I was doing like a lot of different stuff just to bring in as much cash at the time. And somebody had, actually my brother was doing a marketing video for like an advertising thing, and he needed music for it. And I have done small stuff like that on my own account, but never produced it. And Mason, in that whole, it was like right there, he was like, "Oh, I went to school for production. I went to Drexel for production. You want me to help?"
Destiny.
So our first actually gig, Mason and I was, you know, at his house on his computer doing this commercial for this dude.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Yep.
And so you guys are becoming friendly doing this commercial.
Right.
Does he go to his buddy Alex and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is Guy"? And do you guys the 3 of you become pretty friendly after that?
Well, right around the same time, some guy got up to jam with me at McGillicuddy's, and he was an electric guitar player, and he was just like an awesome player. And I was like just kind of thinking about recording my own solo stuff. I wasn't really sure what I was doing, and I was like, "Do you happen to know any female vocalists? I really hear a female voice in this particular song I wrote." And he was like, "Yeah, you got to meet my friend Katie Burke. I play with her sometimes at Lucky's in Manayunk." And that's where Katie came into the picture. So she ended up coming to a Cuddy's gig right around the same time that Mason did. And she jumped up with me on stage because she knew I was going to play like X, Y, or Z. And like we hadn't even had a rehearsal, and she was up there singing with me. And like right away, it was like, you know, sparks were flying. And I was like, "We should probably do this again." She was like, "Definitely." So that's kind of how I met her, right around the same time. And then it was 3 of us, Katie, Mason, and I.
Okay.
And Mason, you know, being so close with Alex,
Who was a fantastic trumpet player.
and also went to Drexel for production. And he was a stagehand, and he ran sound at Milk Boy for many years.
Oh, wow.
And Alex was like, you know, kind of the next shoe in just to come hang out with us. And he does a lot of percussion stuff too. So it was kind of, the 4 of us kind of threw in with one another, and it was like, you know.
Well, who decided that it should be a thing? Were you kind of leading, being like, "Hey, we should probably meet up and try to like make something together, or who initiated it?
Well, I think that I always desired it, but I think that Mason and Alex were looking for a group. Mm-hmm. They had played with a few other bands in the area, and like no one was really either doing it for them or maybe weren't taking it seriously enough for them. So when they met me and saw that Katie and I had something kind of going with original songs, I think they were enticed. I think they were like, this is cool, let's see what happens. And I think that's kind of the four of us just kind of blended. It was like right place, right time, where all of us were kind of looking for that.
Now, both of them, Alex Steyer and Mason, are both classically trained.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing the Drexel production side, and you two are very much from the family band, playing songs together. We'll call it campfire, kumbaya side.
Definitely.
So
yeah.
the meeting of those two minds helped create the aesthetic that is Stella Ruze.
For sure. Yeah. And Katie, too, has a lot of classical training in the church and outside. Her dad's a great musician. Her entire family plays.
Oh, wow.
As well. So I'd probably say I'm like the least, music theory, trained out of the three of them.
Okay.
Four of us, yeah.
But Katie, she plays mandolin as well.
Yep.
Is she, how do I put this? Can she solo on the mandolin, or is she pretty much just rhythm mandolin, we'll call it?
Yeah, I mean, she's gotten, I think for Mando, for her, was really trying to add that extra element to the band, and us kind of like, she had gotten one. She has a uke at home. She has a mandolin at home. And she had got one from her now husband, Brian. Shout out, Brian. Thanks a lot for that mandolin you bought, Katie.
So sweet of you.
And I was already holding it down on guitar. And Katie's a great guitar player as well. Where we kind of motivated her a little bit and said, this mandolin thing might be something we could do. And ever since then, she's gotten, better and better and better every year. So.
And it's the four of you create Stella Ruze.
Yep.
The original Stella Ruze.
We were the original.
And that's back in 2014?
Yeah, 2014, I think. Late 14.
How often were you guys playing together then? Just like gigs and things? Just like trying to get covers, your stuff?
I think a lot of it was just the continuation of McGillicuddy's. I was growing bored with just myself all the time, and it was just a guaranteed gig. And it was,
Were you looping a lot at the time?
Yeah, on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I just started getting into it at that time, yeah.
Okay.
But at the beginning, not really. I never owned one until after I met Katie. She actually lent me hers.
What was it, the Boss one, or was it the...
Is that the blue one, the double?
I don't know the blue one. I wish I knew the names. There's the small red one that's like the Boss.
That's the loop station, right?
There's the big one that like John Gilbride has. That's
right. I don't know what that is. Is that the blue one? Is that the?
No, I don't know about a blue one. The blue one.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I had a loop station forever. I don't know which is the Boss one.
Yeah, that's okay. Is it blue? Doesn't matter. That's
I wish I knew the name.
If only we had the internet. Hold on, we can do this.
What color?
What color is the looper pedal?
Yeah. How colorful is your pedal board?
There's the Boss RC1 loop station. That's the small red guy.
Okay. It's not that one.
And then there's the Boss RC30, which is the double pedal thing. And then there's the Electro Harmonic 720. Is that the one that you had? No.
Yes. I had the Electro Harmonics one, yeah.
I don't know if you can see that far. This one?
I can't see that. Yeah, it's kind of like greenish, right?
Yeah,
it's all about colors, dude. Yeah. That's what I had.
There's a point to having, hey, ladies and gentlemen,
good talk.
This one. Yeah. Awesome. So you're getting off the loop station. You're getting a band to come in. Are you playing Mumford style with the foot bass drum at this point?
Yeah, and I think once we had the four of us, it was kind of like, and a lot of my songs already had that four to the floor kind of, percussion feel and rhythm. So it was kind of natural for me to just go like, I had one at the house, kick drum at the house already, and I was like, why don't I just kick that? And Alex was doing like a whole bunch of tambourine and different shaker stuff, Katie as well. So it was a nice little folky medley.
Okay. And at that time, she was playing the mandolin. It was...
Yeah, she was doing the mandolin and throwing in percussion on that. Mm-hmm.
So at this point, you're playing together for a while. You go into the studio. Whose studio did you record the first album with?
Kawari Sound in Jenkintown.
Oh, with Matt Muir?
So that was our second. Our first album was with Zach Goldstein.
Okay.
And we had just kind of been introduced to Kawari, and we said, who's a good engineer to work with? We were going to produce the whole thing, and it was our own song, so we just kind of needed somebody to know the gear, and Zach was perfect for that first kind of entry level. We recorded 8 songs in like a day and a half. All these songs were played out and so well rehearsed that we just went in and like laid everything down, and
that's really great.
Yeah.
Was it all done live?
Yeah. Yep. And we went back and
you can feel that on the
did some
record.
tracking stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, especially with like wish I knew some of the names. I've been checking out the music really hard for about a week. I wish I remembered some of the song names, but you can really tell on the record that there's definitely a room vibe.
Yeah.
Room energy. I know for us, when we do Hambone stuff, we do like the bottom stuff first. So it's like, me, Mark's either a scratch organ track and then like a real bass track with his left hand, and then Luke will be playing like a almost legit guitar track.
Luke usually records live. The only thing
Yeah.
that's not live is the organ, and the main reason for that is because we can't bring this to Harrisburg very easily.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's pointing at our
sorry.
Leslie. But
Yeah, that thing's beautiful.
so we lay like the bottom track, and that's how we kind of get our live-ish vibe, because it's almost impossible to do everything at once at that particular studio. So how much overdubbing did you do on the first record? Was it pretty much you just laid the whole band and then do the vocals after, or did you do everything at once?
I think Kawari has a really nice setup in that a lot of it is separate. So if you wanted to go back and scrap stuff and do overdubs, you can. I just think because we were so tight on cash and time that we kept a lot of the first performances as they were. Of course, we went back and redid vocals for everything. We had a scratch vocal, and then we went back and did all new stuff. We did some different comps for the Rhodes and organ. They have really nice keys at Kawari. Definitely worth checking out. And Zach provided kind of that first intro level for us into the studio to just kind of get our beak wet and just like have a total blast doing it. I think the most successful songs from that first record are Remember June.
Yeah, that's right.
And Somebody Told Me, probably. But even listening back to both of those, it's like, oh my God, it feels like forever ago.
Well, that one actually has the most listens on at least your Spotify page is Remember June. It's definitely, people definitely like that song. Do you play it out a lot? Is it a staple?
Yeah, we try to. We look at that stuff. We look at see what songs people listen to and what they like, and try to
play to
do
the crowd.
that. Yeah.
I mean, so you do that record. It's just the four of you. Are you playing all those songs for like a couple years and then decide, hey, we're going back in? Or did you write more tunes, or did you guys write together for this next EP that you guys did?
Yeah. Well, the coolest part about this kind of grouping of people is that everyone kind of shared the same philosophy. And I didn't take that for granted because of the days with the Juice where sometimes not everyone agreed. In Stella Ruze, even from the very first happening of it, there was always like, hey, let's grow this thing. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're growing it for or what goals we necessarily had in mind, but we all had that same kind of sentimentality, or what am I trying to say? Sentiment that, we could grow this. So any gig we made from any money we made from any gig, it went into a band fund, and we decided to leave it there until we wanted to use it for something, which is also, I guess, a nice thing that all of us were at least well off enough doing our own real jobs that we were able to do that.
Yeah, it's always nice to have where everybody will sacrifice their pay for the good of the group if they're making enough money on their day gig doing whatever. Yeah, which is hard too, because you're like, I could use that, I don't know, $200 to go,
Oh my
put
gosh.
towards my house or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are times where you guys are really torn about it, putting it into the band fund. We have that debate a lot.
Yeah. I'm sure all bands really could relate to this conversation. Because,
Yeah, absolutely. You always have to have that conversation. You're like, I'm not getting enough for my day gig. Can we take this one home? Do we put this toward new merch? Which, by the way, if you haven't seen Stella Ruze's merch, some of it's pretty awesome. You should definitely go check it out. But we're getting ready to put out new merch, and me and Mark have done a lot of talking. Like, okay, do we take the money from this gig, put it to here? This money goes to here. This money goes to our next big project. So I'm sure you guys were having that conversation at the time. Was it relatively easy? You all agreed pretty much?
Yeah, so really from the very beginning, it was like, hey, I think we paid ourselves at the very beginning, and then it was kind of like, we're only making like $100 a gig. When we take home $30 each, $30 to $60 each, like, where is it really going?
Easy Pass, bro.
Yeah, right.
It all goes to Easy Pass. Sometimes we look at our Easy Pass bill and we go, what? Was it the Turnpike? If you have a trailer going to Harrisburg, what was the total?
With
From
the
Philly to
trailer, it was
Harrisburg
like
and back.
$40.
$40.
$38 or something.
Yeah, because
with the trailer.
With their trailer, we've had to take all of the organ and the drums from Philly to Harrisburg.
So is it like paying for two vehicles then?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
You're paying by the axles, so you have 3 axles instead of 2. So there's no 3 categories, so it's 2, and then it goes up to 4. So if you're in between your 3, you count as a 4-axle vehicle. So it's like $40.
Oh my gosh.
The George Washington Bridge going into New England, it's like, what is this? It's like $47 or something. It's
Jesus Christ. It's almost better to just get like a RV and throw all your shit in it and all the people.
Tell me about it, bro.
Next purchase is a van, so
we're gonna get a band van.
Well, I love this because that's kind of where we are, thinking
Like
about
the creepy white van.
where you want to throw, the weight of the money or whatever.
Yeah, that's something that people don't necessarily know. Is that like people that I've run into, I'll say I'm generalizing a little bit here, but they think you're making so much money from these shows where there's like tons of people. They're like, you're rolling in it, right? And you have to kind of be like, nah, this $200 is going towards gas.
Right.
And what else? Gas. McDonald's. That supersize me fry on the way home.
Right.
So let me ask you this. What comes first? You discovered Ted, the bass player Ted, or you guys going to the studio again to record? What kind of happens first?
So outside of Stella Ruze, the 4 of us, I was always playing solo gigs because I still needed that solo money.
Exactly.
And that's where we met at Vesper. That was partially, during this era. And I had made a relationship with Mikey Jr. at Twisted Tail.
The harmonica player?
Yeah. Who also performed at Vesper a few times around that same time. And in meeting Mikey, I just realized his network was huge. The Philly musicians in and outside of Philly. And I was thinking of some sax parts on some of these new songs I was writing. And that's when I reached out to Mikey and said, do you know anyone who you recommend for sax? He sent me a bunch of names, and that's where we found Vince. So it was actually Vince was ultimately the catalyst in meeting Sean and then Ted.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with Sean, because we had gone back into the studio and worked with Matt Muir, and he's such a good drummer. We ended up using his drums on the record. This was the most recent record we did. It's just a self-titled EP. And we decided we wanted to replicate that live. And some of the newer songs I was writing, we wanted that drummer feel. So Mikey, same thing, recommended Sean. And it wasn't until we had Sean kind of locked in and just like really, all of us were really jiving that we were like, okay, we need a bass player.
It's always that last piece.
It's official. And I think Sean really appreciated that too. Being a drummer, it's just like attaching that. Mason holds it down pretty good on the left hand, as does Mark over here.
Yeah.
But
he does okay. I'm just kidding.
There was a point where Mason was kind of like, on top of that, Mason was kind of like, yeah, it wouldn't be bad to free up this left hand a little bit.
Yeah, and then he could do more voicings and kind of play around with some of his effects, I'm sure.
Yep.
He's busy.
And that's when Vince actually recommended that we
okay.
reach out to Ted.
You know what's a funny story about Vince is me and him actually went to a summer UArts program, University of the Arts program, and we knew each other. What year would have that been? 2006.
He was telling me this, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to try to, before we rescheduled yesterday, he was going to come yesterday. Cause he was.
Oh, that would have been fun.
I know, I'm bumming. So I'm the only one here. But
sorry, Vince.
Shout out, Vince.
Peace. But yeah, we knew each other, and we did the whole big band thing. And
University of the Arts.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's what it was. It's okay. Anyway, so you guys, before you get Ted and Sean and Vince, you're already in the studio with Matt at Quarry. Is that right?
Yep.
And you have Philly legend Ben Arnold with you as well.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? Did Ben see you at Dawson Street or something?
I had met Ben at Dawson.
Okay.
But it happened because do you know Andrew Jude?
Yeah.
I went to school with Andrew, and I heard his record when he was working with Matt in the studio. Ben had come in just to help him with some of his songwriting. He was a much newer songwriter and was looking for that extra little bit creative juice. And I heard his record and I was like, AB, this record sounds awesome. Like, what did you do? And he was like, well, I worked with Ben and I worked with Matt. And I said, okay, I would like to take the same approach. I mean, I'm not an ego guy. Like, if somebody could help me make a song better, I don't care who it is. You know what I mean? Like, no holds bar. If it gives us a chance to get that big break, I'm on it. Like, I don't care. And that's when I met Ben at Dawson, and I was like, you are Ben Arnold. You worked with my buddy AB. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, would you be interested in helping me, just make my stuff better? And he was like, absolutely. Matt's one of my best friends. I've known Matt forever. So Ben and I started meeting up before we went into the studio. And then once we jumped in with Matt, Ben just, came over just to kind of listen in and see how things were coming along and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are working on the songs before you take them to the band, or are you doing both simultaneously?
A little bit of both. Yeah. Because the newer stuff, I wanted to show the band immediately. Mm-hmm. And before we went into the studio, I just wanted to have some of those songs a little bit more refined. So I was working with Matt before that, just him and I, and then kind of going in the studio as a band.
Oh, wow. Okay. So is Ben coming to the studio at the same time?
Sometimes. We had 4 or 5 different sessions with Matt. Mm-hmm. I think Ben came to 2 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it as helpful as you thought it would be before you guys worked together?
I think it always is. I think just getting that extra, unsolicited critique, just honest, and a guy like Ben who has such a good ear for hooks and, and different things, just I think help to bring the most out of some of these songs. And, just also being, honest about some of the lyrics, like that line seems a little lazy. Mm-hmm. Is that really what you wanted to say there? And I'm like, yeah, guess it is lazy.
And then you'd have to think on
it's
it
lazy
for a
couple.
as
fuck.
Yeah. Sometimes I would appreciate that kind of unsolicited criticism.
Yeah, and I think too, my family, I love them to death. They've been supporting me in this crazy dream of mine for my whole life, and God love them. Anytime I show them a song, there's nothing ever wrong with it.
Yeah, because
ever.
This is my boy or my brother or whatever. Yeah.
So getting that just honest criticism was huge because I needed it. I think I'll always need it, and that's where the band comes in too. Having that extra, ear
mm-hmm.
to be
especially with the guys that have Mason and the guys that have production mm-hmm. ideas. Definitely helps kick your ass lyric wise.
Yeah, and even outside of that, they just have such a good sense of how to get something out of the studio, mm-hmm. where I wouldn't know where to begin or how to get that sound. They have really good ideas for that as well.
What's always nice about having a big band is you always have multiple influences for each instrument. There are some things that I would have never thought of, and then Mark would bring me an idea, and I'd be like, huh. And then a half hour later, a totally different animal comes out of the recording process, or vice versa. I'll come to Mark with a different bass idea. and he wouldn't have thought of that, So there's 7 of you. I'm sure there's lots of ideas flowing.
There are.
When you guys are recording. Now, when you go into the studio with Ben and Matt and everybody, are you going in with a certain influence? Are you trying to look, I love Andrew Jude's record. I love maybe a little bit of Mumford, a little bit of this. What's your main influence for the self-titled EP?
I don't think I ever have a goal to sound like somebody else or I'm a fan of artists and bands out there, but my favorite band is Phish. Are we ever going to sound anything resembling Phish? It'd be impossible. So I don't think I have that. I'm of the belief, as Quincy Jones once said, music needs to be decategorized. I think especially because of how far music has come, we have a challenge sort of describing our sound to a lot of people. What Stella Ruze is, because some of our songs are funky and some of our songs are folky and some of our songs are Americana and bluegrassy. So it's tough. I don't think I ever write a song trying to sound like somebody. I don't think I ever go into the studio with a goal to sound like a specific brand or anything like that. It's just kind of, how can we make this song the best? And maybe that'll come to haunt us one day in the studio, where we have a whole album full of different fucking songs. Nothing sounds like it's from the same band.
Yeah,
but that might be cool too. That might be an interesting.
Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's a little rough. I love Zach Brown Band.
Yeah, sure.
I love that band and some of the songs, but they put out this record. It was called Jekyll and Hyde, and they had every song was a different genre. Although you can respect it, it's I don't think any of these should be grouped together. Did you find that, Mark?
Yeah, I didn't care for that. I mean, there's some great tracks on that, but I didn't like the overall vibe of the record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't flow. There was nothing flowing through it. You guys were considered a country band. Why are we all of a sudden I get changing and evolving, but it just sounds like you guys just went, we do one of these and one of these.
That being said, though, it is cool. There should be an eclectic record is cool. When you hear all those influences in the songwriting, just not a completely different genre for each.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost felt like you go from ska to 6/8 Motown ballad to polka.
Yeah.
That's my only criticism. But maybe
suppose,
one day.
I suppose, especially if you're I love to listen from an album, from the first song all the way to the end of the song.
As do we.
So I guess I would agree with that sentiment.
And there's one thing that's that the album isn't appreciated anymore. Everyone's going singles now. Mm-hmm. It's hard to see that art form die.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to bring it back. Yeah.
So, are you guys going back in to record soon?
We're going back in. 2018 was a great year for Stella Ruze, both as a band and for me personally, for some personal things, with getting engaged and doing the house thing and all that. Thank you. So we decided after a busy year, 2018, that we'd take the first 3.5 months of 2019 to first rehearse these songs that we've been toiling with, for the last few months, and refining them, making them more studio version-y, and then we're going to do demos, and then we're going to go in and, put all this money into it.
Are you guys going to pretty much do demos at somebody's house and kind of get the idea together before you go in?
Yep.
From what I understand, you guys had a hard time with that the last time you went in the studio. Kind of jumping around.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, so the EP was before we had Sean and Ted and Vince officially in the group. And a lot of these songs were very fresh and really exciting, and they had this new energy about them that, I think all of us, the 4 of us, were really amped to go and record them. And it was probably a little bit premature, because when we got in the studio, we realized that we weren't as ready. And we ended up working out a lot of the parts and the arrangements, the finals, in the studio, which really made the album, I think, what it is. And we're really proud of it. I really like it, what we came up with. But I think we wasted a little bit of money and weren't as efficient in doing that. That said, if we had a studio with, no holds barred just to go in and live out of and be, studio junkies, I think we would create the best music in the world. I mean, the Tom Pettys of the world and Bruce Springsteens,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just had these record labels just letting them live in these studios, and they wrote these phenomenal albums.
Right. Or like rent a house and just write all the time, live at the house, go do your thing, work your day job, but come back to the house. We're working.
Yeah.
It's a dream.
So there's you have to find like a happy medium where like you don't cut yourself off to no changes in the studio, because once you get in the studio, you'll inevitably hear things that you didn't before. So you have to be open to that, I feel like. But
you come in with a basic arrangement.
At the same time, you don't want to use all your money up.
What money?
Right. Your savings on,
So you're going back into Quarry. Are you going back in with Ben as well? Or are we going in like a different direction?
Yeah. I want to talk to Ben about some of these new songs. I don't think we've decided one way or another what we're going to be doing yet when we get in the studio. But definitely want to work with Ben again. Definitely want to work with Matt again. And I think based off of our last 2 studio experiences, the algorithm that seemed to work the best is kind of picking and choosing. We're so lucky to have all these awesome studios in and around our area that we know now which studios are best for which arrangements. So Kawari, phenomenal mixing studio, and their piano and keyboard rigs are top notch. So, we'll probably end up using that just for that, and then we'll go to Retro City for vocals because they have this huge room, and you get these big wow sounds. So it's kind of like, as long as you have an engineer who's willing to work with you and move with you, you can kind of go and handle what you need to do, putting it together again, as efficient as possible and trying to make it all put together like a puzzle.
And as fishy as possible.
Yeah.
Are you guys heading in the jam band kind of direction?
I think from a studio perspective, these songs are going to be straight up studio, studio versions.
What about live though?
Radio friendly. But live, I think yes. I think having the full bass drum element has allowed us to really, spread our wings a little bit when it comes to more improv stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that at the last show.
Yeah.
The song you closed with, I think it was off your first record, and the audience started singing along, and then as long as the bottom was held down, you guys can kind of fiddle on top, and it let you kind of do that jam for, it must have been 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a while.
Yeah.
And I was curious if you're kind of feeling your Phish roots now. They're starting to come back.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. It's really cool for me because I never really did any guitar leads before other than solo, looping stuff.
Is there any particular guitar player you're kind of diving into style-wise? You're like, I kind of want to sound like this or that and the other thing?
Well, I don't think I ever, push myself to sound like a certain way. But my favorite guitar player is Trey Anastasio. So I think...
you think it's organic?
Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm starting to sound more like him. But yeah, it's really cool getting those elements involved because I'm definitely getting better at it.
All right, ladies and gents, we're going to talk about the music news. I've collected all these all these music-related news topics, and I'm going to talk to Brendan about them. First one I got up here is, have you heard about this new documentary for Rick Rubin? Do you know who Rick Rubin is?
Yes.
Legendary producer. Showtime is prepping a new documentary series on him called Shangri-La, and it says that they're going to have a work-in-progress cut at the 2019 South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas. For those who don't know, Rick Rubin is one of the essential producers of our lifetime.
Definitely.
Of the
L.A.
L.A.
California guy.
Yeah. Here, you know what? Just for giggles, I didn't look this up, but let's just get like a quick list. Producer. Yeah, he produced a ton of people. Wasn't he part of Def Jam? Or
I don't know exactly.
He was with.
I don't know a whole lot about him. I just know that his philosophy is like very kind of hippity dippity, very soulful.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of an organic guy, and he's been really good implemental for people's success in telling them which songs suck and which songs are really good.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
It on Wikipedia. It says he's a record producer and former co-president of Columbia Records. Along with Russell Simmons, he is the co-founder of Def Jam Records and also established American Recordings. He's worked with such artists as, let's just pick a couple: AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Johnny Cash, Shakira, Chili Peppers, Tom Petty, Weezer, Black Keys, ZZ Top, Jay-Z, tons
Ridiculous.
of people. So they got a new documentary coming out on him. It should come out at South by Southwest.
That is sweet. I will watch that.
Yeah, the filmmaker is the Oscar-winning Morgan Neville, who directed "Won't You Be My Neighbor," the thing on what is his name?
Rogers.
Fred Rogers.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers. And 20 Feet from Stardom. Weren't you the one telling me about that? About background singers? That's 20 Feet from Stardom?
Yeah, that is awesome. You should definitely
That's
check
on
it out.
Netflix, I think.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. It said it will highlight Rick Rubin's eclectic resume and unique creative process about the producer. So I'm really excited about that.
That is sweet. I just watched a documentary on Quincy Jones.
I've been talking to people about that for the past 2 months.
That's where I got that quote from earlier. Yeah.
Do you like it?
What a wild. Yeah, I mean, what a span, and the fact that he got into pop music because he was in debt from that trip or whatever.
Well, actually, I haven't seen
Crazy.
the documentary yet. It's on my list. I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just called Quincy. His daughter is the one that
Yes.
directs it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really exciting. I'm gonna check that out, and then I'm gonna check out the Rick Rubin documentary.
And he's like a total workaholic too. Just wild.
I love it.
Yeah.
Next on the news is about these young Russian musicians struggle under government scrutiny. And here's what this article says. Members of Ice Peak, who described their work as audiovisual terror, say that the government told them they crossed the line. And the story is in December of 2018, when two of the members, both in their mid-20s, arrived in the Siberian city. Not even going to try. In this Siberian city, to a concert, police detained them right at the train station because their music was not friendly to authorities. It's very political. And one of their latest songs, called Death No More, was when the trouble began. The one lyric was, "In my gold change, I'm drowning in this swamp. My blood is purer than the purest drugs." So some kind of political. It's Russian, so I don't know exactly how far they went, but they got taken by the government. A little edgy, yeah. It got taken by the government. So my question to you is, not how close, do you feel like we're starting to go into that direction in this country? Or do you think that some voices are afraid to speak out, like politically? Yeah. Because of being, like, the thought of being detained or being followed by?
I think it's a good question. I think that there's probably more motivation for people to start writing more and more about politics and getting more radical in that sense. I'm under the belief a little bit that entertainment, more music than anything for me, should be separate, because some of that stuff really can make me emotional and stress me personally out if I think too much about it, And there's a lot of that going on right now. So when I write, I try to have people have an escape so that what they're stressed out about doesn't transfer over into what they're listening to, because you never have that, like, downtime. So I don't like to mix the two personally, but if I was in a different group where that was our goal, would to be, more political, there's like so much mojo out there right now to go and collect. I think that under these times, definitely
there's a lot of speaking out happening right now.
Yeah,
I know I agree with you, and Mark also feels that way, which is that entertainment is entertainment. It's not. Well, you agree with that?
Yeah, like I go to a concert to escape. It's like, why do you go see a movie? It's escapism, right?
Right.
So I don't need someone to preach to me, who to vote for.
They try to get you to go on their
I'm
side.
there to just have a good time, have some drinks, and party.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and it's almost I'm not gonna say it's a cliche, but it's happening a lot right now, especially with like the government shutdown and things like that, and everyone's starting to come out with their own opinion. It's almost it's very overwhelming. It's hard to. So when you read articles like that, you're like, well, how close are we to this? At what point is the government gonna change their mind? Well, not change their mind, but like freedom of speech. If it's against them, are they going to start coming after us?
Yeah.
So I was curious, like, do you think we're not that close to this idea, but are we on our way?
Well,
that there's so much speaking out against the government right now.
Yeah. Well, I think we are really, really, really fucking lucky to live in this country because we have the ability to speak out as much as we want, and are protected by the amendment. Whereas in Russia,
they don't have that protection.
You're fucked, right? I mean, if you're too loud, they'll hush you pretty quick. So I guess, we can be grateful that we still have that freedom, and those protections to do that if you wanted to. But I think these are trying times we live in. It's like it's more reason to be political and really outward with your opinions is also more reason to write about other shit so people have more to escape to. And they can find solace in your music or in their favorite movies or sports games, because it's become so personal for so many people.
I can agree with that. Yeah. Moving on in the music news is two big things for this one band. Big thing number one is Tedeschi Trucks is releasing new music, which I'm very excited about. The bad news with that is that Tim Lefebvre, famous bass player, is officially parting ways with the Tedeschi Trucks Band. Did you hear about this?
No, but I love them.
Yeah, they're a great band. They just announced a whole bunch of tours, but the press release says Tim has officially announced his departure from the band. The bassist who's worked with David Bowie, Wayne Krantz, Sting, etc., joined TTB in 2013. A gentleman by the name of Brandon Boone will play the bass with the ensemble on their upcoming winter dates. So I assume that Tim is still on the next record. It's just he decided to bail out, or
so
maybe
does it say?
It doesn't. It says Tim will be moving on. The intense TTB tour schedule leaves little time for other gigs, and Tim feels like it's time to free up his schedule so he can spend more time producing and playing on a variety of different projects. It's vague enough.
Yeah.
He probably got pretty stifled playing with one band.
Okay. Yeah, so I hope that I love that band. I love Tedeschi Trucks. I love the Allman Brothers, that whole family band thing, Southern rock. I'm just a huge fan, and what a phenomenal guitar player. I don't know what your question is specifically, but if I could just comment, we had really the opportunity to meet and kind of talk about a little bit this exact topic. We played with Pete Francis from Dispatch this past year,
right? Who
also no longer plays with Dispatch, and about 6 months before that, Josiah Johnson of The Head and the Heart, and both kind of directly comparable to this situation with their bassist playing. And for me, in speaking to both those guys, it really seemed like they were on like a much better situation and path for them. And I'm assuming the band was also happy too. So
like it was a mutual breakup.
Yeah. I know for Pete Francis specifically with Dispatch, the road wasn't for him. And, his family life was really better for him, and he was able to find that in his own solo career. And for Josiah, I think it was a little bit more of chemical stuff, drug abuse, but he seems much better too. So, and so I can only assume that if it's a better situation for the band and the individual, then like God power to him and all that. So I guess my thought here is for Tim, leaving Tedeschi Trucks. I just hope that it's on his own fruition and not like a band decision or something, you know?
No, I think I was bringing it up because I wanted us to talk about it.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe they're parting ways amicably, and
That's
it's
good.
fine. But this gentleman, the guy that's taking his place, is a young guy. I have his bio. Brandon Boone, a native of Augusta, Georgia, is an Atlanta-based bassist. Now, here's the thing that makes me go, He was a part of, the Disneyland 2016 All-American College Band, which means that he was in college in 2016. That means that this kid is definitely 25, 26 years old on the road with Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Wow.
What is going through that kid's head?
Yeah, right?
Like,
oh my God.
I did it!
Right?
Don't say anything. Just play the bass.
Oh my gosh.
Fly on the wall. Oh, man.
What a boss.
Yeah, how amazing is that? 25. You're on the road with like one of the best jam bands on the scene right now.
Could you imagine?
I can't. Because, you go from, it says he also played with a couple other big acts, but, Brandon studied bass with Mark Miller and drum set with Justin Chesarak at Kennesaw State University. He's happy to be found in that situation.
Wow.
That is insane.
I mean, what a jump start to his career.
I mean, I think he was doing okay, but this is hold on, let me see the dates. It's 3 months straight or something.
Wow.
It's nuts. Anyway, did you also hear that
is awesome.
Phish announced their giant run this year?
Did
you get tickets yet, or have they released them?
So yeah, I think we have until Monday to get on the lottery,
Mm-hmm.
and then the public sale is on the 25th.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do that this weekend.
Are you gonna ask a bunch of friends and family to put my name down? Are you gonna ask them?
Well, I've had some good luck.
Okay.
We have some gigs around that time, so I can't go. They have 3 dates in Camden this year. Normally they do 2, and then they do 2 in Saratoga. Which I don't know if you guys have. I'm sure you have, but a show in SPAC.
Yeah, I've been to SPAC.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I saw Mo and the Allman Brothers there. Actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Nice. Same night or different gigs?
Same night. Mo opened for the Allman Brothers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I remember that tour. Yeah. Have you been up to SPAC yet, Rob?
No, I haven't been there.
It's worth it. Bucket list.
Bucket list.
Yeah.
I got a few of those. I don't travel enough.
Hey, it's on your way to Canada, dude.
Yeah.
You go to Canada.
Middle of that 8-hour drive. All right, ladies and gents, we are here at the next segment called Whip It Out. Your phone, please. Whip out your phone.
All right.
And we're going to talk about the last 5 things that you've listened to. But here, I'll start just to kind of get us started.
I remember the segment, but I don't remember how to get to it on my phone, so you have to walk me through it.
It's all good. So go to your Spotify and just look up your last 5 things that you listened to. Or if you remember off the top of your head. Here, I'll start.
Okay.
The last 5 things I listened to. Leon Bridges' River. Yesterday, I was kind of in a foul mood, and I needed something kind of chill to kind of put me in a good state, and that song was so calming. And then they get to the bridge, like, I wanna go. So good.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I was listening to, do you like Stanton Moore?
I don't know if I know Stanton Moore.
He's the drummer from Galactic.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I was listening to his jazz record called With You in Mind. Me and Mark were talking about that album the other day. It's the Alan Toussaint album. They play all Alan Toussaint.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah, it's a good record. Mark, we got to ask about your last 5 too. My third one is the Derek Trucks Band, the album called Songlines. It has a song called Volunteer Slavery that I know that I want us to do in the future. I was listening to the new Tedeschi Trucks single called Hard Case.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah, is it?
I really love it. And then Mandolin Orange just put out a new tune called The Wolves.
Post pregnancy.
I guess so.
Because Emily just had a baby.
Oh, okay.
I love Mandolin Orange.
I think they were talking about it today. It might have came out either yesterday or today.
Nice.
But those are my 5. What do you got?
Sweet.
This is Brendan's list.
Okay, so I have Loves Me Like a Rock, Paul Simon.
Oh, so good. So good.
We were really lucky to do our first show of 2019 was a Paul Simon Garfunkel tribute show with Ryan Tennis and Loose Leaf.
Was he doing the Graceland thing?
Yes.
They were doing the Graceland album with the bass player from Graceland.
Graceland.
What's his name again?
I always mispronounce it. Hold on.
But no, I've always seen the videos. I love Ryan. I've met him a couple times, and I haven't really hung out with him. But I love his drummer too, his buddy. Forget his name.
His name is Bakithi Kumato.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
So good. He did a couple clinics in Philly.
Super
I didn't
friendly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, really nice guy.
Yeah, really, cordial.
So you guys played that tune.
We played 5 tunes, and one of them was "Loves Me Like a Rock."
So that's such a great song.
It was sweet.
What else you got?
Sunday Night Butterflies, Andrew Jude.
Yeah. Why do you call him AB?
His real name is Andrew Baderick.
That's Andrew Jude's way easier to say.
Andrew Jude is his stage name. Ooh. But yeah, everyone calls him AB. I have Such a Night, Last Waltz album.
Oh, I love that movie.
We covered that, so I was learning that too. Rachel Andy, Waves. Mm-hmm. That's off her new album.
Yeah, we were talking about it. We were talking when she was on the podcast. We were talking about her album and that specific song.
I was really lucky to get to know Rachel with Skylar Jenkins' Escape Artists.
That's right.
Tour, RV tour. Also John Gilbride and Pete Hill on that, and she was actually listening to masters on that trip, and like approving different stuff. So we kind of had like a little bit behind the scenes, like conversations about some of the stuff she was working on. So when it finally dropped, I was like, oh, I can't wait to listen to it.
Were all 5 of you kind of like giving her notes? Was she asking for notes about her masters, or just
I think
like,
it was actually
listen?
a little bit further along at that point.
Okay.
We didn't actually get to hear anything. She wouldn't show us, but she was telling us about, different things that were going on and, studio stuff and how excited she was. Yeah.
That's amazing. And, excuse me, the documentary is coming out soon? The actual documentary?
February 5th, actually, and that's a good one for me to promote because we don't have much shows coming up, but or nothing announced yet. But February 5th is the premiere of Skylar's film.
The
Season 1.
Artist.
Yep.
And he's planning to do more?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Maybe we should talk about doing that. We'd be the backing band for everybody.
Get one of you guys on that next one.
No, I mean, we me and Skylar had talked a lot about it, and he said that that documentary is going to be really cool. I can't make the debut, but it looks awesome.
No worries.
If you want to see the trailer, you can go to, I think, youtube.com/The Escape Artists, and you'll find it.
Yep. And the episode will be available to, for everyone to watch, I think, sometime in March.
Will that be on his website, or I'm sure that it'll be out somewhere?
Yeah.
I think Facebook it.
Yeah.
You'll find it. What else you got? I think that we just did number 3.
So the 5th,
4.
that was 4.
Okay.
Yeah. And the 5th is off of Phish's Kozvok Vok album.
No, I know that one. Mark?
Which is their newest.
He isn't.
Which is their newest album. Turtle in the Clouds is a song I have here. So, yes, I'm a huge Phish fan. And as you probably know, every Halloween show that Phish plays, they cover an album.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's their Halloween costume.
Okay.
So they'll actually do a set of their own music, a set of this album of their choosing, and then another set of their music.
Do they tell you before
No.
the show? Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I would love that.
So in the past, they've done the Talking Heads. They've done the Beatles, the White Album. It's always a toss-up. And this past year, they wanted to get super creative, and they basically made up a prog rock band. They made it up called Kozvok Vok, which is like this, like European rock band. Mm-hmm. And they even went as far to put stuff in Wikipedia that dates back to like 2002. It was this real complex thing, and it didn't take long for Phish fans to figure out that this was like just all a hoax that Phish had put together. But they wrote, let me see, there's 10 songs on the album. It was one and done. They recorded it live and they put it out to the world that night on Halloween 2018, and it was 10 tracks. But the only reason why I think it's been so well accepted, not only that it's this cool idea, but the songs and the melodies are awesome. Like some of the best new songs they've written in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're realizing that, and they've been on this little bit of wave ever since. Yeah.
So you think they're going to dive into that a little more?
They played songs throughout that through their New Year's Eve run in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, how cool is
They're
that?
already playing all those songs now, on top of all their other songs. Yeah.
So this thing that started out as a joke is like, oh, this is legit.
People really love this, yeah, and I think it's really reinvigorated them a little bit, because for a while, when you put out new music and it's not quite as, poppin' or accepted, you maybe get a little deterred. I think this album just went way above what they thought. I mean, the melodies are so cool. Check it out.
I'll definitely check
Turtle in the Clouds is a good one. Say It To Me Santos is another good one.
I'll check it out. No, I always love having different artists come on and give me 5 things to check out. Hey, Mark, what are your last 5?
Hey, what, Rob? Well, I don't have Spotify in front of me because I have Pro Tools in front of me, but I can remember a few of them. So I'm working on a new gig, so I've been practicing some stuff. My Old School by Steely Dan was one.
Mm-hmm.
I love Steely Dan.
Strawberry Fields by the Beatles.
Classic.
Also, I have kind of weird taste. A little Rob Zombie in there as well.
Wow.
Feel So Numb.
Yeah, sometimes you'll put some
Nice.
Zombie on the road and we'll get over it real quick.
Not me.
Yeah, not you.
It's a good release.
What else? What else are we doing? Hang on.
Do you like Les Claypool at all?
I love Primus. I don't love a lot of his solo stuff too much, but I do love Primus.
I got into Oysterhead when he did that.
Oysterhead
thing
was
with,
Cool
with Trey.
Yeah, and Stuart Copeland, right? Yeah, that was weird. I saw some concert footage of them, and didn't Trey have like a theremin on his guitar, or was that Les? Maybe one of them had like a theremin built into their guitar.
Yeah, I think that was Les.
Was that Les?
Yeah, he's out there with
He's
his
a weird dude.
basses too.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. Sorry.
It's all good. That's enough for me. All right, let's talk about the top 40, the things that people love, but sometimes musicians hate. So let's talk about. I like to talk in this podcast about tunes that are actually good off the top 40, as opposed to just being a hater, which I'm very cynical, which is super easy.
Yeah.
So this is actually forcing me to listen to tunes that are not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
However, I had a lucky break because Mark Ronson recently put out a new tune with Miley Cyrus. It's called Nothing Breaks Like a Heart. Like, the Mark Ronson,
Of course.
classics,
Yeah,
like
Valerie and
Uptown Funk and what's the other really big one? Did he do one with Gaga?
yeah, he did.
I can't remember what that's called.
Well, he helped write all of the Stars Born stuff with her.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great film.
Which I think has been nominated for Academy Awards.
Did it win a Golden Globe?
It won Best Score. Golden Globe.
That's right.
Yeah. So
That's right.
power to him.
He did Back to Black with Amy Winehouse, a couple other tunes. But yeah, so that song is awesome. My
Nice.
girlfriend and I talk about pop music all the time. I love songs that have like weird syncopated rhythms. The verse in that song is so good. I get a little chub just thinking about it.
So Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really good. She doesn't belt too much. It's just really funky. I love that.
All right.
Yeah. Did you find anything in the top 40 that you like?
Yeah, so in prepping for this, I didn't want to dive too far in because I wanted it to be authentic as possible, as you had advised. And I like that. And from looking at everything and kind of listening to a few of them because I didn't know the artist, I will say that what I really, talking about something positive on the top 40, I will say that I really respect how they are able to write these hooks. If you go through, the one from the top 40 that I actually like is Post Malone. And what I like most about it is that they're really simple ideas that are super catchy. And, if we could just write one of those tunes in mixing with our genre, with Hambone or with Stella, we'd have our break. So it's like you can take something from these groups without becoming them, and hopefully we'll have success in that one day. But what I really appreciated from that is that whether it's the verse or the chorus, every melody is syncopated. It's the same. So it's like da 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 da, and the next line is totally different, but it still has the same pattern of da 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 da. So to the ear and to the listener, it's super simple and it's really catchy, whether you like the artist or not. Mm-hmm. So I think that's my positive take on the top 40.
What's the Post Malone song so I can tag it later?
He has one called Survivor.
Okay.
Right now. And another one from, I think, a few months ago that I forget the name of that's still...
Is that the Sunflower song?
Hanging in there. Yeah, that's
the one from the Spider-Man movie.
Oh, maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. Did I say
it might be
Sunflower?
I'm not sure. But we have some in-depth conversations about the top 40. There is definitely some garbage on there that you won't... If we're going to be a little negative about it, it's just like, it's really hard to enjoy.
Yeah, let's go negative now.
All right.
So what's the one?
What's the worst?
Yeah.
I need to look at it. Hold on, I'll see.
So I really tried. Ariana Grande has 3 songs in like the top 10 right now. Mm-hmm. I really tried. I don't know.
See, I'm the opposite. I love those songs.
I'm with you, man. I cannot stand her, dude.
I think
stand her.
that she's got an amazing rhythmic thing, like the "God Is a Woman" song. Lyrically, it's good, but I like the rhythms. I like the feel and everything. What about it turns you off?
So I'm always the glass is always half full, so I'll start with the positive.
Good for you.
The the sentiment she wrote about her anxiety post the awful shooting that happened at her concert.
Oh yeah.
She wrote a song about it. It's in the top 10, and everyone can relate to that because that's a real human thing, and that's an awful thing to happen to somebody. I wouldn't. How messed up of a world that we're talking about that happened at a concert. Mm-hmm. But the song itself, going the opposite direction with this, it's not catchy to me. There aren't these sort of production elements in it that I really appreciate in a lot of the top 40 stuff, even if I don't love the music personally. It just doesn't have it for me. So I'm curious. I would love to hear from more of your side, from the Ariana Grande fan, on what is it?
I wouldn't call myself a fan. I'm an appreciator. I appreciate. Like, the Thank You Next song is whatever. Yeah. She has this song. I think I've talked about it on 3 out of the 5 podcasts. Mm-hmm. It's I'm So Into You.
Is that the one you wanted us to cover?
Dude, it's so funky. The chorus is like a guitar line. It's really great.
I'm shaking my head vigorously. No.
We'll get Mark my buddy who plays with Luke Combs, this country artist, has a tune that's in the top 40. He plays drums for him.
Okay.
But
and the producers for these groups are really the geniuses.
Yeah, it's not the artist.
And
some of it.
And I think that if they had worked with a different artist, perhaps they wouldn't have the success that they have. So it is also the artist, but the power of the mic, the power of the recording studio, and the mind behind the engineer that's working everything.
There are a lot of factors.
Yeah.
For sure. And then there's also these waves of kind of sounding the same. Some of them start to sound the same. Like when some of those Katy Perry tunes came out in the late 2000s, everything had that same everything had that dotted quarter note thing.
So true. Yeah.
But some tunes that are on here that are rough are like the Maroon 5 song I'm not a fan of. Girls Like You.
Okay.
That High Hopes tune by Panic at the Disco's all right. And the Shallow song from what's the movie? We were just talking about it. It was Star is Born. Is on here. It's on the top 40, and that sounds great. And apparently Bradley Cooper helped write those, so good for them, man.
Yeah.
All right, time for the last round of questions. It's called a lightning round.
All right.
So I'm going to ask a question. You've heard this podcast before, so you
Yes.
may have an idea of what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask a question, and you have to give me your first thought or answer. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. First album you ever owned?
Ever owned? Dave Matthews, Crash Into Me.
Somebody else had that one.
Yeah, I think it was the last. It
was Jeton.
The Jeton guys, yeah. Yep.
First show you ever saw?
It was a gift from my aunt, but I am a fan. First song I ever wrote?
No, first show you ever saw.
Oh, Hootie and the Blowfish.
That's a good one.
I was in grade school at Hershey Park Arena.
Who else was on the bill?
That's a good question. There was definitely an opener, but I don't remember. I have the ticket stub.
Do you save yours? Do you
I
save your
save
stubs?
them all. Save them all.
You're gonna make like a little table, like a tabletop thing.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what to do with them. I guess a book,
Or you can do like a put it like a giant poster thing and put them on tape them up or something.
We should talk about that because I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it without like ruining the stub.
You can probably find a tax system that won't destroy them.
Right.
Next one. Last show you saw that you weren't a part of.
Last concert I saw that I wasn't a part of.
Yeah, it can either be
Phish,
hometown or
MSG.
that was the New Year's run.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. Was it just them or was there an opener?
30th. No opener. Phish never has any openers, and the reasoning for it is ear fatigue, or at least that's the one that I always hear them say, that they don't want their fans to get in when they finally play. They don't want their fans' ears to be
It's actually kind of
tired.
This podcast is brought to you by the train that runs by this studio. It's called the River Line. Go look it up. All right, number 4 is favorite song to play live.
Ooh. It changes for me. But right now, I think it's All Works Out. It's an original song that we've been playing. And it's had a little bit of a switch from an acoustic kind of ballad to more of I'm playing electric guitar on it now, and it's become more jammy. Yeah, I think some of these songs that we've moved from a 4-piece to a full band, some of these songs are being like reinvigorated, and they're kind of coming back to life for us.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Next one is least favorite song to play.
Ooh. Well, I would have to probably go to some of my solo gigs when you're playing cover songs.
Mm-hmm. And you get that request. What is it?
Yeah. Right now, it was Wagon Wheel. I'll still play it because normally I have my tip jar out, and if you play it, then they're more likely to throw $1 in before they leave the restaurant or whatever. So yeah, I would say probably Wagon Wheel right now.
My new thing I want to start doing is having a menu of certain cover songs, and then people have to pay for whatever cover song they want to hear.
I like
so like
that.
think about that. So you got like a little stand that says like Wagon Wheels $20.
Like
American Girl.
Wagon Wheel and Freebird are like the surf and turf. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
They're
Yeah,
like $40.
Yeah, so if you put in $40, I will play that song, and I'll do it for like.
That's amazing.
I'll jam on it. I'll go for a while. Any Irish song should be on there.
Country Roads.
Roads, Margaritaville.
Mm-hmm.
What's another good one that people always request?
Maybe like Last Dance or
I could deal with that.
Or
we were talking about them earlier. Santeria.
Oasis.
Top of the list.
But the coolest thing I saw was in Austin. It was a live band. It was a live cover band, and they pass around a bucket. And it's literally like being tossed around the crowd, and they're like, shout out a cover song. The bucket needs to be full for us to play it.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
How big is this bucket?
It's, I don't know, top hat.
Jesus.
Top hat full. Yeah.
Was it always an outrageous cover?
Yeah, it was always like a
Like a Barney?
like a Wonderwall or like
Wonderwall.
yeah. But they would do it.
Mark, I think this is a good idea. I think we should do this. Number 6. Favorite local artist that hasn't been heard of or should be more well known?
I don't know how I can pick just one, Rob, because, being a politician. But right now, I've been listening to Rachel's album like crazy, and she's probably a bad example because she's getting so much notoriety for it. She's doing pretty good for herself. Local. But she's local, and she's just, getting started like us. So I would have to say shout out Rachel Andy and The Fifth Element.
Nice. Number 7, guilty pleasure artist or album.
It has a negative connotation to say you're a Dave Matthews fan.
It does, but...
So my guilty pleasure is probably still being a Dave fan, I don't listen to him, obviously, as much as I used to, but going back and kind of having those memories pop back in your head when you're listening to that stuff in high school is definitely a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I'll give you mine, because my mom used to clean the house to Celine Dion, so whenever I hear... Not the Titanic song. Like, Mark's looking at me funny. It's like the Christmas tunes or the greatest hits. All I do is smell like lemon pledge in the clean house.
Right.
And so that's my guilty pleasure is that. Number 8, favorite album of all time right now.
Wow. Yeah. Of all time.
If you had to list that album that right now is like your go-to right now, I'll give you mine. My new favorite album I play all the time is Casey Musgrave's new album. I cannot remember the title of it offhand, but it's really great. The whole thing, top to bottom. You're an album guy. This is top to bottom.
Yeah.
Great album.
Mine always comes back to Grateful Dead. Oxamoxoa.
I don't know that one.
It was their first ever studio experience, and they didn't want to even do it because they were such a live group. But they were signed with a company, and they had to provide them a studio album. So they went in and did this, and on A Long Strange Trip, the documentary on Grateful Dead on Amazon, I believe, they go over kind of what influenced them to do this record, and also what they did in the studio, more specific to their chemical influences that they were doing and their drinking and what have you. And that was like one of the first jam band albums I ever listened to. And that has Casey Jones and St. Stephen and
we were covering that one for a while. We were covering St. Stephen.
I think that one still is like at the top for me. Not only because of the tracks themselves, but yeah, that kind of taking you back to when you first heard it and like where you were and what people you were hanging out with and all that too. So I'd have to say that.
Right now, this is the last one. Who's your favorite artist right now?
My favorite solo artist?
Either solo artist or band. You can say Phish, or you can say whoever.
Yeah. I will say Phish. And it's funny too because before this Halloween album they did, I was into Mandolin Orange for a while. I was kind of off of it. I still loved them and would go see their shows, whatever. But I think they've reinvigorated my joy for what they do with this Kozvak Voss album. Check it out.
All right. And as always, every song we mention will be on a Spotify playlist, which will be attached to the episode if you're looking at it on our website or on the YouTube channel. Brendan, where can people find you and Stella Ruze on the internet?
StellaRuze.com. And we always update our show lists and all of that.
And you're pretty updated. You're pretty good with the socials.
Yep. Instagram, StellaRuze _ Facebook.com/Stella Ruze.
It's always funny. You always have to remember your own social. You're like, which one is which? We've done that.
We actually just got a Twitter, which we didn't have before.
Making some comments.
Yeah.
Is that you? Are you pretty much in charge of that?
I help, but I don't know how to do Twitter that well. I'm learning.
Are you the old man of the group?
I would say I'm probably one of the old
the group, yeah. Mark Brown's our in-house old man.
Nice.
What's your next show?
I prefer the wise one.
I'm sure your bandmates would say differently. Okay, so this episode's going to air on January the 30th. What is your next show that you know of?
So I'm going to promote Escape Artists February 5th
Are you playing that when they release the album?
Yeah,
show?
they do. They are going to have a short concert, acoustic concert with all of the participants. Pete Hill, John Gilbride, Rachel Andy, and myself. So that's what I'll promote today. Stella Ruze, please check us out. We do have some great announcements coming up over the next few weeks for 2019, so stay tuned.
Yeah, go follow them on all their socials and everything. And I'll tell you this on recording is that we would love to do something with you guys. If you ever wanted more noise in the studio, we're down to do it.
Let's do it, man.
Like a combo thing.
I would love that. Or just a show.
Or do a show, whatever. Yeah. Whatever. Thanks again for coming on, man. If you want to listen to any of the tunes or artists we mentioned on this podcast, please go to our Spotify page, and I'll have the playlist on our Hambone Relay page. It'll be DCTO, and then the number will be 005, and that'll be the playlist featuring Stella Ruze or Brendan Johnson. Thank you so much for listening.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Peace.
Peace out.
Thank you so much for listening to Dude. Check this out. Once again, if you want to learn more about Hambone Relay, please go to our website, hambonerelay.com, or go to iTunes to check out our records, or Spotify, which is where these playlists will be located for these episodes. And don't listen to the haters, man. There's plenty of good music out there. You just have to keep looking. See y'all later.